or in the midst of crisis, I might say to you, hey, Carrie, calm down. Or...
Oh, can I just say, in the history of calm down, no one has ever calmed down when they've been told to calm down.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And if I'm also in the midst of crisis and I say, take a breath. For some people, they can't because they've not, like that's not a common, you haven't done the work to get there yet.
San Diego 911 emergency. You need to come right away. There's a man with a gun and it's loaded. Receiving emergency signal from 4 George 1141. We got a white team out down. We need paramedics code please. All available units will code that way.
Welcome to the De-Escalation Conversations podcast. I am with Jamie Wehmeyer, and Jamie is a speaker here at the CITI, the Crisis Intervention Team International Conference. She's an international conference speaker, an amazing lady who's doing amazing work with a nonprofit organization called The Battle Within, serving primarily law enforcement and veterans. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, tell us about first, let's jump into the speaker thing. There were hundreds and hundreds of speaking proposals that were submitted, the vast majority of which were rejected. Yours was accepted though. Tell us about your topic and we'll start from there.
Okay, sure. So so the Battle Within, we serve veterans and first responders, and it's all about treating the secondary trauma that they experience while in service to others. And so that is my passion, trauma, resilience, taking good care of ourselves, been my passion for a really long time. And it fits well with the Battle Within because that's what we do. And so that's what I'm going to be speaking about is secondary trauma and how do we honor our stories so that we can be well and keep doing the work that is presented to us, because the trauma is not going to go away. So,
without doing something about it.
Yes.
And you're truly serving the heroes that had these traumatic things happen while they were in service of others. So you're serving those that served, and that's like a higher calling on top of a higher calling. You're like icing on the cake.
Well, I appreciate that. It's actually my greatest honor to do the work that we do and to sit in space with men and women who are putting their life on the line for us every day. So.
And you're a licensed clinical social worker?
Correct.
And you're 4 or 5 years old, you're going into kindergarten and they go, what do you want to do when you grow up? Did you raise your hand and go, I want to be a licensed clinical?
No, 100% no. No.
So what was the path that led you down to where you are today?
So in truth, whenever I was, before I went to college, I had great dreams of making a lot of money and being in business. And that's what I thought I was going to do.
You're working for a nonprofit.
Right.
Okay. Just
right.
check it.
So my first year of college, when I took like Economy 101, I was like, well, this is definitely not the path I'm supposed to be on. I definitely feel like from a young age, connecting with other people was an important part of my life, hearing people's stories and just being a support to them. And so I quickly shifted gears and ended up on this path of helping other folks. So I started with, when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I started working in a women and children's treatment center, working with women who had significant substance use issues and were at risk of losing their children oftentimes. And so the center would bring the kids in with them. Mm-hmm. And I quickly learned that I went to school for nothing. I don't think it really taught me what I needed to know about the traumas and the stories that I was going to experience. So really from a early part of my career, I started studying trauma, trying to understand at that point clinically, how do I make a difference clinically? How do I educate myself so that I can really help people heal from their traumas? And so that path took me down to then community mental health on the behavioral health side, the mental health side of helping just folks who had, significant mental health issues like depression, schizophrenia, like the big issues. And again, the curiosity around, is trauma a part of that thread as well, and of course it was. And so I just kept doing the work, and then probably about 10, at this point, maybe 11, 12 years ago, trauma-informed practices started really becoming prevalent in our world. And so when I started reading about that, I had already been in management for a really long time, and it really resonated with me because it wasn't just about the clients that we served, but it was also about our stories. It was also about the secondary trauma that we experience in hearing and witnessing other folks' trauma, and how do we take care of ourselves if we're going to keep doing that work. So I really became a champion for trauma-informed practices at the organization that I was at, really worked to change that environment. And then in 2017, I experienced my own significant trauma. I have 2 boys, and my 17-year-old, my oldest son, was murdered by one of his friends. And when that happened, my life shifted. Obviously, I tell folks, you're not with the same person who I was 8 years ago. I had been doing a lot of work in our community around trauma-informed practices, and what I learned is that not enough work had been done. People didn't know how to take care of my family. People didn't know how to take care of Jake's friends, Zane, my younger son. Like, people just didn't know how to deal with our trauma. But not only that, I saw the impact on our community. I saw the impact on first responders. One of my closest cousins was the person who had to identify my son, and he was a police officer, and I saw the profound effect of that. And so it just led me down a different path of that's really how and why I do the education that I do, the presenting that I do, is because I live that story. And so that twisted path took me to the battle within. I always say Jake kind of had a hand in weaving my story into where I'm at now with helping veterans and first responders. So.
Yeah. Can we step back to Jake's story just a little bit?
Sure.
How old was Zane at the time?
Zane was 15.
So 2 years younger than his brother.
Yes.
And God, that must have been so incredibly challenging, because you're going through your own stuff.
For sure.
Because kids aren't supposed to die before us.
100%. Yes.
But then you've got Zane you got to take care of.
Yeah.
Along with the rest of your family.
Yeah.
That probably didn't know what to do with you or Zane.
Correct.
To the level that you would have hoped.
Correct. Nobody knew what to do with us, quite frankly.
Wow.
All 3 of us. I mean, my husband and my other son and I mean, in our community, things like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, and so nobody knew how to really be in that space with us. And sometimes they still don't.
Years later.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I share with people, having spent 30 years in law enforcement and just within my own family, people passing away and under different circumstances. Mm-hmm. I always talk about the second week after the memorial service or funeral, whatever services, whatever's memorialization has gone on, and then it's time for everybody to get back to their regular lives. And all of a sudden there's this huge vacuum that exists. That alone is hard enough, along with everything else.
Yes, for
I
sure.
mean, that can happen if you have a parent who's long-term sick. You know, you're prepared, you know what's going to happen, it's still rough.
Absolutely.
There's still that vacuum that occurs. That's rough. But when it's sudden, and when it's a child, what would you say? Because what I found about our wonderful world and universe is that somebody listening to us right now is either a friend, a relative of somebody experiencing this, or is about to experience it.
Agreed.
So folks, while you're listening to Jamie talk about this very personal subject, and thank you for being open to doing that, here's an opportunity to do a couple of things. If it's not you experiencing it, it's not you in a support role, is it you in a role where you can say, hey, I was listening to De-Escalations Conversations podcast, and this wonderful lady named Jamie was on, and she gave this information, and maybe you can help it. You can help this family, these people that are going through this. So this is a wonderful vehicle for you to be able to help other people, help people like where you were at. So let's talk short, medium, long term.
Sure.
In the short term, Jake is killed. He's gone. You're dealing with the trauma. What can people do in the first 72 hours? What would have supported you best?
So in the first 72 hours, really just breathing, quite frankly. I mean, just, I don't think in that first 72 hours, you go into shock. I mean, essentially, that's the way I describe it is, I just need to be able to breathe. I need to be able to drink water. I need to be able to eat, like just my basic needs. Yeah.
Basic survival stuff.
Yeah. Just,
what about friends, family, neighbors? You know, do they show up with the meals? Do they send cards and flowers? I mean, what should they do? Maybe something that they shouldn't do. Don't do this, for God's sake. People do it, and it's the wrong approach.
Yeah, 100% the wrong approach is to tell me everything happens for a reason.
If we could eliminate a couple
That
of phrases,
phrase.
that being one, and the other one being, I understand what you're going through.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I'm
Those
sorry.
two things.
Yeah.
Agreed. Those two things. I think during that first 72 hours is just really being present for what that person needs. Like I have a large family, and we were all deeply in shock and deeply grieving, and I couldn't be around all of them during that first time. It was just too much. I just needed to be around Jeff. That's my husband, Jeff and Zane. That's who I needed in my sphere. I needed to make sure that they were alive and with me. That's all I really needed. You know, sending texts is a lovely thing, and that text doesn't need to say anything except for, I'm so sorry. I'm here if you need me. I love you. Just short, sweet, and simple, because, and the other thing is to know, like the people closest to me learned that, especially during those first few weeks, like I was inundated with texts. I had so many texts coming through, and they learned that if I just sent them back a couple hearts, that's meant I got it, and I don't need anything else from you.
And you might not even be able to do that.
Correct.
So don't be offended.
Correct. Yeah. That is a really good point. Don't be offended by anything I do, because I'm really not in my right mind.
You're in survival
I'm just
state.
absolutely in survival.
You're getting through the day.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. Absolutely. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, So I mean, I just think it's that don't have expectations of how my grief is going to look, because I don't know how my grief is going to look in a situation like that. So.
Well, you know, it almost can be said like a cliche, but it's so true, which is feelings are universal, experiences are not.
Absolutely.
And how you're experiencing it. How you're experiencing it today might not be how you're going to experience it later today or tomorrow.
And it's not. I mean, that is the thing, especially because, you know, I understand that what my experience was, while it includes grief, it includes trauma. Jake was killed in a very violent way, in a way that sometimes I find myself minimizing because I'm a social worker, because I'm this, I'm that, I'm trained in this. And what happens is my brain is like, no, you're wrong. Like this was a violent act that was committed against your child and thereby against you and your family. And, and so that trauma shows up all the time.
When you say it shows up, what can people be prepared for it looking like?
Oh gosh. Well, for me, I always tell folks like I'm really fortunate that I was already doing the work around trauma before I experienced something so significant, because I don't want to say I knew what to expect because like all of our paths are very different about how that trauma shows up, but I knew I needed to understand what my body reactions were, and so how it shows up differently, is certain things can be a trigger for me that are completely unrelated to, or I think unrelated to my trauma, but I have to be really aware that there's times when somebody else's story can trigger me, where, there's certain shows where people during COVID, everyone was watching, Netflix like crazy because what else could you do, right? And so people would send me suggestions, and I would text back and say, think about the storyline. Is this a story I want to watch right now? And so people, that know me, they would be like, I didn't even think about it. No, skip that one.
Right.
So I just think it's having that awareness of what is going to be a trigger. But also the reality is, our life is full of triggers. Right? I mean, like for no matter what our story is, we can't monitor everything that's going to happen to us.
Can't live in a bubble. We can't insulate ourselves. Well, you can, and that means you're going to stop living life.
Correct.
As the human experience, and that means that things are going to come up. They're going to trigger, and the ability to go, that's interesting. I'm curious why that's a trigger. A song.
Correct.
A scent.
Yeah.
A sound of, some music. When I say sound, it could be a loud bang, but I'm thinking sometimes a song that comes on.
Yeah.
We oftentimes, music is tied to memory in
very much
such a powerful way, as well as smell, a certain.
Yep.
I love to barbecue, and there's sometimes I've opened up a pack of steaks, and I don't want a steak anymore because it flashes me back to some instant in my career. There's just something about it that day. Yes. And so there's different things, but the ability to go, that's interesting. Curious, why is that a trigger today? Yeah. Because last weekend I was grilling.
And it was fine, right? Yeah. What's different? And sometimes it's simple as things like if I'm not sleeping well, and then something that normally wouldn't bother me, I'm more sensitive to that because my body is...
Your defenses are down.
Correct. Absolutely.
I always equate it to the what was it? Star Wars and Star Trek, the shields that, put up, protect the USS Enterprise. Scotty's sometime telling us, Captain, the shields are at 10%. We can't take much more.
Absolutely.
Or the shields are down.
Yeah.
We're really vulnerable here.
Yes.
And other days you're at 100%. And photon torpedoes and all for all of our Star Trek fans here. Photon torpedoes are coming in. You're like, I can take anything today.
Yeah.
But you're not necessarily like that tomorrow.
Correct.
When you recognize that something is a trigger, what helps with you? I talked about the curiosity, and there's a couple of key things that we teach on, because we teach on 3 pillars: neuroscience, personality science, core human drivers for our advanced de-escalation.
Excellent.
And on the neuroscience, the ability to remain in curiosity, get into curiosity, to get into gratitude, because your brain cannot be in survival state and be curious, cannot be in survival state and be in gratitude at the same time. Brain doesn't allow it. Yeah. But triggers sometimes catch us off guard.
Yes.
They little bastards sneak up on us, and I always look at it as like some creature out of like Lord of the Rings, where it's like boop, jumps out of a bush and is on you, and you're fighting it, and you're like, what? Where'd that come from? Yeah. When something has been a trigger, either for you personally, maybe for Jake or Jeff, what helps you recognize quickly that it's a trigger, and then to be able to deal with that. Whether you call it an attack or a speed bump or a roadblock, whatever level it is, because triggers come at different levels. But what have you seen that works well for you personally or your family?
Yeah, for me personally, I have really learned what my body tells me. So so I know, I keep touching the microphone, sorry. I'm a hands girl, so.
Our listeners are deaf now.
Yeah, sorry, wake up. So I notice like that my heart starts beating faster, or I start to, I have the physical reaction to.
That sympathetic nervous system
Absolutely,
response.
yes. Okay. And so I know my job. I always call it moving from my impulsive brain to my thinking brain, right? Like this is the way I teach it, is I talk about like when we're in that crisis response, and I feel that like I'm like a little bit out of control. I'm trying to, sometimes I cry, but usually it's not. Usually it's my muscles start to tense up. I just have really worked hard to notice that. And then for me, in the immediate time of that, I like to use, get in touch with my senses. So I like to just make that intentional move from that impulse back into my thinking brain by doing simple things like some breathing exercises, or I'm a sensory, like a touch person is what helps really me to get reconnected with my brain. So like if you're in my office space, I have soft stones that I rub. I have on the back of my phone, I have a textured strip on there, that I can rub that reminds me to breathe. I call it my prickly pig that I got in a conference probably 15, 20 years ago. And it's my favorite thing that, again, it's just something to reconnect me to my body in a different way. And then I can say, okay, what's going on?
You have an emotional support prickly pig.
I do.
I love it.
I do.
That's awesome.
I do. And he's like
like
this
Peppa
big,
Pig,
he's so
only
tiny.
different.
Yes, I've tried to find him since because I'm like, I would love to give this prickly pig out to everybody when I talk about him. But yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
Did you name him?
no,
Okay.
no, just the prickly pig.
It's prickly pig, which, what the heck? That's a great name by itself.
Yeah.
Sounds like an alcoholic drink.
It kind of does. Yeah, actually,
We got the
kind of
prickly
does.
pear drink, but
Yeah. Yeah.
So you recognize it. You're listening to your body,
Yeah.
and then you found some ways on the sensory angle. What if that doesn't work for me? What other things? Let me ask you this. No, you go first. What other things do you suggest?
Well, so I love just the neuroscience piece of this and really acknowledging that. And so one of the things I think that we fail to realize is that in the midst of crisis, we try and teach, right? Or in the midst of crisis, I might say to you, "Hey, Carrie, calm down," or
Oh, can I just say, in the history of calm down, no one has ever calmed down when they've been told to calm down.
right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And if I'm also in the midst of
like I
crisis and I say, take a breath. For some people, they can't because they've not, like that's not a common, you haven't done the work to get there yet, right? You know what I mean? So like for me now, I'm far
enough.
enough.
To speak Czechoslovakian. Speak Czechoslovakian.
Exactly.
To me. Tell them to take a breath. It's the same thing if they're not familiar with it, if they haven't been exposed to it, which is why, again, podcasts like this where we're having these conversations are so important. And CIT type training, our advanced de-escalation training is so important because it's like, oh, I can do that. Physiological sigh. Are you familiar with that one?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
It's a double intake. It's a deep intake of air, and then a little bit more, and then a slow exhalation. Because anytime you get that space between your inhalation and your exhalation, it causes the parasympathetic nervous system response. It just slows everything down, and it is so. I'm sure you're familiar with box breathing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I do a lot of box breathing myself, so
I can't stand it.
We're all so different, though. It's so different.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just it.
Yeah.
And so I try and do box. So I got this friend of mine. He's a fantastic life coach, business coach, great guy. His name is Gagan. He's from originally from India. Now he lives in Australia. Fantastic guy. human being and wicked smart. And he does all of his coaching sessions begin with box breathing.
And you're like,
Jimmy,
don't do
tell you,
that.
like, I don't know what it is about it. I teach it
Yeah.
because there's folks like you, folks like Goggin, that it resonates with. But for me, the physiological side,
Right.
part of it is because I'm usually got 27 things going on at once. I'm juggling 12 balls, spinning 18 plates. I don't want to drop any of them.
Yeah.
I have time for his physiological sigh. So that double intake, it's a full intake of breath, a little bit more, and then the slow exhalation. I heard somebody say one time, recently actually, don't do it at the top of the stairs because you might get lightheaded. And
that's it.
if you're driving, it's best done at a stoplight.
Yeah.
But okay,
Yeah, that's so funny.
we've got the tactile, the sensory.
Yeah.
We've got some box breathing. We've got some breathing. We're listening to our body.
Yeah.
What other things?
Movement.
Movement. Tell me more about that.
Movement. So, this is something I see really frequently is, and even in our program, if we're doing some work and there's some, somebody gets triggered in whatever the topic is, and they're in a kind of classroom style for part of that. Sometimes it's just getting up and taking a walk. And I tell folks, movement doesn't mean like I have to go out and run 5 miles. Sometimes it's just as simple as I need to take a walk, reconnect with nature for 5 minutes. That can move me out of that kind of crisis brain, that part of my brain that's not connected to thinking. It can move me forward. And that's an easy task, right? If we just keep it as in, I'm going to take a walk around the block. Whenever I would, when I was working in the community mental health center and my staff would have a really difficult intake with somebody, and it would be triggering for them, because they're hearing these stories. And again, one of the things we wanted people to know is don't sit in that state of somebody else's story. You have to move. You have to reconnect to your brain instead of staying connected to their trauma, if you will. So, and I think about that too with officers and with CIT and that de-escalation ideas. We're out there doing the hard work, right? But are we taking care of ourselves so that we can move on to the next crisis, quite frankly? Yeah, exactly. Or are we staying in our fight, flight, or freeze response, which is what I know. I think that's a big part of the battle is how do we get out of our fight, flight, or freeze, which we need, and it saves our lives and it saves other people's lives because it exists. But when we're in there all the time, it becomes harmful.
Well, that cortisol, I love me a good dose of cortisol and adrenaline and all that acid that comes along with it. And it's so hard on our bodies.
Correct. Yeah.
When I came on a brand new officer in '89, I remember hearing that the average age for law enforcement officers after they retired was 3 years. 3 years. Because there was no emotional resilience, no emotional health, there was no crisis intervention. It was suck it up, buttercup, military style of just deal with it, push through. We don't complain about things, we don't talk about things. Officer being involved in fatal shooting, people walk up afterwards, here's a bullet, and they'd hand him a bullet and great job, shooter, and great marksmanship, and here's the bullet to replace the one that you fired. And you're like, really?
What just happened?
This with people?
Yeah.
And we progressed depending on your agency, depending on the awareness, depending on, quite frankly, the luck of the draw of having somebody amazing like you that has the experience and your personal experiences to be able to draw on that to serve others. Highest calling.
Yeah.
If it's okay with you, would you be open to us shifting gears again a little bit?
Absolutely.
Can we talk a little bit, because I know we're already at the 30-minute mark, and I want to steal a little bit more of your time if we can and talk about the Battle Within.
Absolutely.
Because it's an amazing organization. Cool colors, purple, love it.
Thank you.
And the same
Only
color
because it's my
palette.
favorite color. This isn't really the Battle Within colors, so.
No, it's not. No, it's just your colors.
Yeah.
I chose the branding for my organization because I like purple. I love it.
No, just for today. Just for today. Yeah.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
I thought purple would look good on a podcast. So.
Yeah, purple podcast.
Yeah.
Like prickly pears.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Prickly pigs.
Prickly pigs. Yeah.
It's
sure.
what do they call those? Trying to tip my tongue. The source broke. When you have sounds that sound similar. Oh, come on. Come on, Care. You know what I'm talking about, where it's like prickly pig and prickly pear. It'll come to me.
Yeah, in the middle of this. Yeah.
I'll just
Or after
interrupt
when
you.
we're done. Yeah. Okay, fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's good.
I'll
Yeah.
record like a 30-second, this is what I was thinking episode.
right.
It'll be on the end
right.
of it. It'll be like a blooper reel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about the battle within. How did you shift from the work that you were doing to, how'd you find out about the organization and what's your role in it and what can people do to help? That's a trifecta of questions for you.
Yeah, that's a lot. So that's good. So, so I was not looking. So I had left the
Alliteration.
perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah, I figured I could interrupt you with that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like,
Because otherwise it was going to be like in your brain the whole time. So perfect.
Well, there's 12 people who are commenting while they're listening to the pod. They're doing 85 down the freeway and they're on their phones going, curious freaking alliteration,
Get the right
dude.
word. That's right. That's so
Ignorant.
funny.
Anyway,
That's awesome.
Okay, back to
That's
you.
awesome. So the battle within. So I left the community mental health center that I was working at about a year after Jake was killed, and started my own consulting business, going in and teaching organizations about trauma-informed practices, how to take good care of their employees, how to take good care of the people that they serve. And so I was doing that for a few years and setting my own hours and not working really full time. And
Good for you.
And and you know what was interesting? This is a side note, and then I'll get back to the battle within. But I thought when I was leaving my job, I was leaving it to take care of like my mental health from losing Jake, which certainly I was. But what I also noticed is after I was out of working in the community mental health setting where it was always crisis, about 6 months after I left there, I was like, oh, my brain is functioning differently. It was much more settled. Like, I just think that there was a shift that happened, and I didn't know, even though I was teaching about trauma-informed practices, I was, really pushing for staff self-care so that they could be well. I didn't realize the impact of a 20-year career in community mental health was impacting my brain the way that it was until I stepped away from it.
So the shift is because you're a step back.
Yeah, I think because I gave myself space I kind of think about it as a reset of my brain,
Like
you
a
know.
little circuit breaker kind of?
Yeah, exactly that. So
A little bit slower, but
yeah. So I was kind of definitely in that space of I get to choose who I work for, I get to choose my hours, that kind of stuff, and the battle within actually came to me through my own therapist, who is actually on the clinical advisory board for the battle within. And I was in a session and she said, hey, Jamie, there's this organization, they're starting a new position as a clinical director and you just might want to check it out. And so I went to their website and I looked at their mission statement, which was to serve veterans and first responders in the traumas that they'd experienced while in service to others. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to start working hard again. Like
run, Forrest, run.
Yeah. Like I just really like just honestly reading that, I was like, I'm gonna have to apply for this position. It just.
Wait, you're like, I'm gonna have to work so hard. I have to do it.
Yeah, it was exactly that. It was exactly that.
I love the dichotomy there.
Yeah, I mean, so that's how I came to them. The organization itself was started in 2018 by over 100 veterans and first responders who there's some kind of stair-step organizations that have been there to get to this kind of iteration of the program that we have now. And so, just the work that we do to really help veterans and first responders understand that one, they're not alone. I mean, you're a first responder. You know that it's this idea that nobody has experienced the trauma that I've experienced, and no one can hold space for that trauma. You know, I can't tell anyone. I can't tell my family. I can't tell my friends because nobody else gets the job that I do.
Or we don't want to burden them.
Or we don't want to burden them.
I know how bad it was. Why would I want
sure.
to inflict that on somebody else?
Yeah.
So you're protecting them by storing it inside.
Yeah. And then also harming them because now you're
Isolated and
angry, isolated, you know, not connected with your family, your friends.
vicious circle.
Vicious circle. So the primary program that we have is called the Revenant Journey. It's a 5-day program where folks come on site with us. And it's actually, you've been having all the references to Star Trek and Lord of the Rings, and the program itself was created by a veteran who became a licensed professional counselor. When he came home from serving, there was nothing that really could treat him well and bring him home, and so he says he fell into therapy as an accident, became a therapist by accident, but I don't believe there was an accident in that. So a lot of it's based on the hero's journey, and so our 5-week program is based on this idea of you're called to action, you're called to, as a first responder, called to service to others. But for this week, it's like you're called to action, to come into the battle within, to come to the Revenant Journey. What do we need to do to begin our healing journey? So that whole week is really based on teaching about emotional regulation skills. So some of the things we've talked about, like the breathing exercises, but we also do meditation every day. We have actually a retired police officer who, when he retired, said, I need help. I need to get my brain straight. And so he became certified in several different meditation programs. He comes in and teaches on the first day, 2 hours. And it's not like we don't sit and meditate for 2 hours. We sit and understand our brain for 2 hours. Like, this is why we're going to do this week. So we do meditation every week. We do, or every day, we do yoga every morning. They start their day with that. And so, and many of them are like, this is hippy dippy stuff, right? But by day 5, they're like, wow, I never knew. So we teach those type of skills. We do breathing, we do grounding in everything we do. So there's some group process of what you might think about traditional group therapy, but but we're very meticulous about that, if you will. So our job is not to hear all your war stories. Our job is not to spend a day processing every bad thing that ever happened to you, because we have 5 days with you. Our job is to teach you how to do the work. So we are very controlled in what brought you to the battle within. How are you really feeling? Getting in touch with yourself, and how do I close that door so I can then go back to my family and be present until it's time to do a little more work. So that's the second component, and then really the third component, we do a lot around ceremony, a lot around just recognizing that in our society, for thousands of years, ceremony was a way that we would send soldiers to war, the way we would bring them back. Well, whether you're a veteran who's gone to war and come home, or you're a first responder who goes to war every day and then has to go home and be present, you have to figure out a way to release. And so and this is also the other thing that really attracted me to the program, because of my own healing journey. Not linear, right?
Yeah. Time is not linear, and healing is not linear, and you maybe never realize how non-linear both of those things are until
you're in the midst of it. Your own story. And also just the fact that therapy, while vital, and we promote therapy, like, this is 5 days is not enough. You have to do the work, but also there's other ways you can heal. There's other alternative ways that can help you with that. And so that's a part of how we use ceremony, to teach them different ways to do, to heal. And we do ropes course, some things like that. We have equine therapy. We have a licensed marriage and family therapist who comes in and spends 3 or 4 hours with folks just helping them to understand family of origin stuff. Because of course they come to the battle within for one reason, and then they're like, oh man, I have childhood trauma too. I didn't even think I needed to deal with that. I thought I was good with that. And so, and then also, how do you come to us for 5 days and go back to your family system who's not been with the program for 5 days, but now you have a recognition like, I need to make amends to my family. I have work to do to reconnect. And so we do some work around teaching about that too. So that's kind of the 5-day program, like quick nutshell. And then our other program is our Frontline Therapy Network. Again, because we believe that the 5-day program is kind of the jumpstart. We're going to give you all the tools, and now you have to do the work. And so we have therapists across the country that we vet to make sure they know how to work with veterans and first responders. Every single cohort that we have, at least one person will tell me, well, Jamie, I went to therapy once, and the therapist started crying when I told them my story, or the therapist's eyes got this big when I explained some of the trauma I experienced, and I never went back.
Or they didn't respect the therapist for one reason or another. There was, I've heard the term, he was a guy and he was a marshmallow. He had no spine.
Yeah.
I can't respect my therapist. I'm not going to go back.
Yeah.
Okay. You know that there does happen to be more than one male or female therapist out there.
Yeah, exactly that. So we try and, we do vet them to make sure that they know how to work with first responders, and also that they have, we have a wide variety of modalities that they have as well. So we have, folks who are trained in EMDR, neurofeedback, somatic therapies, like all the different things, and we do our best to match you with somebody who's a good fit for you. And both programs are free.
Wow.
So the 5-day program is free, and we can cover the first 6 to 10 sessions of therapy if needed. But we also try and connect you with somebody who takes your insurance, because 6 to 10 sessions is not enough.
Right.
So that way they'll be able to continue to do the work.
on.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something that we kind of began to touch on, and I think it'd be a great way to wrap the podcast up. You talked about when you're feeling triggered sometimes, or you're just feeling the stress, the sympathetic nervous system, heart rate's up, pulse rates, or heart rate is heart rate's up, respiratory rate's up, you're maybe feeling flushed or tingly, you're antsy, and getting outside into nature, going for a walk. And then later, because I kind of put a mental pin in that, and I wanted to come back to grounding, and then you mentioned grounding.
Yep.
So for the people who are not familiar with grounding, and I honestly believe getting out into nature and being able to couple that with some grounding, even for just a short amount of time.
Yes, agreed.
I know that there's people out there that are going, what? Huh? What's that grounding stuff? I think it's one of the most underutilized things. So would you mind chatting with us about that for a moment?
Yeah, for sure. So the easiest way to me for grounding is, again, like, because I'm so into like connecting with our senses as a way for grounding. Obviously that's what I do. That's my practice. But if we can train ourselves to be in moments where we step outside and notice, that's one of the easiest ways we can ground. So noticing the wind on our face, noticing the color of the trees, noticing just our space around us, that's a way to ground, to connect ourselves. Doing a simple breathing exercise. When I used to teach about like mindfulness and meditation and journaling and all the things around grounding, but I didn't do any of that hippie stuff. Like, no, I'm not going to do that until I needed to do that.
I'll teach it.
Yeah, until I realized like, oh, that's probably going to save your life, Jamie. You better figure that stuff out. So I really learned to do short grounding activities because that's what resonated with me, like being able to just sit and do a 3-minute breathing exercise when I need that, whenever I feel like I'm triggered or, but what's also been really important for me is simple things like gratitude practices. And I use that as grounding as well. I always tell folks, people will tell me that they practice gratitude. I'm like, how do you practice gratitude? Well, I tell myself I'm grateful in the morning for something. I'm like, well, that's not really practicing gratitude. Like you need to sit down and you need to write it down. You need to, again, it's this idea, like, how do I get out of that, the lizard brain, the impulsive part of my brain? The only way I can do that is something really intentional around grounding. And so, a grounding practice of, if I'm feeling distracted, what can I sit down and write down 3 things that I'm grateful for? That's a easy way to ground myself back in the present.
And a great gratitude exercise.
And a great gratitude exercise.
And what we were talking about earlier, your brain will not allow you to be in survival state and be in gratitude at the same time.
Yeah.
You can't be noticing the air on your face and the sound of the birds chirping and be in survival state. Because as you're looking around for those things in a way that you're not looking for threats,
Right.
you're noticing the air, the way the breeze, which direction is it coming from? Which is, if it's not full-on curiosity, which direction is breathing or the air coming from? What is my breathing like right now? Yeah. If it's not full-on curiosity, it's enough to tell Amy, amygdala, I call her Amy G. Dalla.
Okay, I was like, no, it's Jamie, it's not Amy.
Not talking about the other girl. The one that truly runs our life. Amy, you're telling Amy, I'm safe. Because otherwise I wouldn't be caring what direction the wind is coming from.
Yeah.
I take grounding to 2 other levels. One of them's more time consuming than the other, but it's still relatively quick, which is shoes and socks off, feet on the ground.
Yes.
In the grass.
Yes.
And the other is, if I don't have time for that, is literally just kneel down and put my hand on the ground. I'm not talking on concrete. If you had to, you live in concrete jungle, there's no grass around. But almost everywhere you look, there's some grass or some dirt, and literally ground yourself with Mother Earth. Yeah. And again, you're not going to do that without telling Amy, your amygdala, your croc brain, your lizard brain, your reptile brain, hind brain, I'm safe.
Yeah.
And so the ability to physically ground like that, along with the concept of grounding yourself in the sense of settling out with a simple breathing exercise. I don't have time to get outside. I'm in meeting after meeting or call after call or dealing with intake after intake. But gosh, if years past people would insist on, hey, I'm taking a smoke break.
Exactly that.
I'm taking a grounding break.
Yes.
I'm going to go connect with Mother Earth. I will be back in 47 seconds.
Yep.
Which is far faster than anybody can smoke a cigarette.
True.
And it takes longer to pee than it takes to ground.
Yeah.
So if you can do a run pee, you can do a run ground.
Yeah.
But just the opportunity to do that, just to reset that circuit breaker, get your brain back into executive state where you can problem solve.
Right.
You can be creative about solutions. You can have empathy for other people, because we can't have empathy for other people. We can't truly connect with them. We can't have rapport. We can't have understanding when we're in survival state ourselves.
Yes.
And so the opportunity to do that is powerful.
Yes.
So thank you for letting us have some insight into what that looks like. Jamie, I am so honored that you chose to spend some of your very, very valuable time with us. And for our listeners, who I have no doubt that in the 50 minutes that we've been chatting, there's somebody that's, you're going to touch their life, you're going to change their life. So thank you for that. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your service. Thank you for helping the people that serve others. And our prayers and thoughts will be with you and Jeff and Zane.
Thank you so much.
And good memories of Jake.
Yep. He's here. He's in the room with us. So I don't think I'd be here if he wasn't. So yeah.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Folks, check out theidea.world, We have our Relationships Transformation course that opens September 9th. And we have tons of other training available to you that will make your life better, make your communication skills better. We have amazing people like Jamie on the De-Escalation Conversations podcast. So keep tuning in, keep sharing, keep commenting. Let us know what your thoughts are about this episode, because I have a new favorite. I have a new favorite without any question.
Thank you.
Folks, until next time, stay safe.
Thank you.
You found a lot of great value in this episode of the De-Escalation Conversations podcast. Please be sure to go to our website, theidea.world, THEIDEA.world. On that website, just click on the link that resonates with you most. If you're a K-12 educator, if you're a firefighter, medical services, law enforcement, flight attendants, whatever industry you're in, we have specialized training for you. So check that training out, because literally it can save your life, it can save your relationship, it can save your career. So check out theidea.world. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. This is Kerry Mintz here, and thanks for watching this episode of the De-Escalation Conversations podcast. I hope you got some great insights that you can use right away. But don't stop here. Click that video link above and keep the momentum going with another powerful episode. And hey, if you haven't already, please hit that like button and the subscribe bell so you never miss an episode. New strategies, new stories, and new ways to connect coming your way every week. See you in the next episode.